at Pandora find it really important, and we think it's a huge education piece in the market, that there are 3 different categories of music streaming in the music app world. You have your on-demand services, which are Spotify, RDO, Mog, Deezer, Gavira. You want to hear one exact track, you go to that service. You know, you want to hear Yellow by Coldplay, you go to Spotify, you type it in, that's exactly what you hear. That's on demand, and that's not what we do. Pandora's internet radio, so you tell us what you like, what genre, what music, what artists, and we'll play you more of the same. And so we operate in a very different space, and I think there's a huge education piece around the music streaming industry. And the third category is aggregators, so like TuneIn Radio, who just pull in BBC Radio 4 from the UK and Triple J, and so you can listen to actual radio stations through that app. So there's 3 categories of applications, and I think that the market is so new in Australia that there's not really a very deep understanding of how the different ones work, how they work together, and what the different key components are. And that leads into the question you were asking about the ARIA charts. I think the reason you've seen integration, as you said, in the US and not yet in Australia, it's merely the maturity of the market. So Australia is just several years behind in terms of, you know, Pandora's been around for 14 years in the US and only 2 years here. And that means that we are still seen as a very new player in the market, whereas in the US we're seen as one of the oldest, more mature players. And so as music streaming comes to the fore, and I think we have a lot of well-established players here. I know I said we have 19 in the market, but that will dilute down and some will join together, and it'll eventually become just a couple of key players. And that'll be the time when you see music streaming really being able to influence the way things have traditionally been done. And I think that's a shift not only that might happen in the charts, but also in all different areas of music measurement, you know, measuring traditional radio against internet radio, you know, whether a buyer sees us as an app or whether they see us as a radio station. And that's all comes with the maturity in the market. So we sort of almost are just exiting the early adopter phase, and that kind of can skew the demographics a little bit. But if you're over 13, you can sign up for Pandora. And I think as well, it's another US stat, but we have 100 users over 100 in the US that listen to Pandora. And we've got music dating back from, you know, the 1900s. So I think within that demographic, we see a bit of a natural curve, sort of from the, you know, sort of 18 to 35. Probably the most popular in the peak, but we do see as Pandora matures in the market a sort of leveling. So it's slightly, you know, the sort of really tech savvy industry, the 18 to 35, you know, myself and you guys, we've all heard of it. We're the first ones using it. But then as more and more people get onto the platform, as we tell our parents, as, you know, people my age who also have children, they tell them, you sort of see a flattening of the line. So at the minute it kind of curves like that, sort of an acquisition curve, but you see it sort of start to flatline eventually, because everyone's as likely to be a Pandora user as the next person. We think that, you know, whether you're 45 or 25, the music you love is on Pandora, and I really don't think that people lose that love of music. It's not necessarily a young person's thing. I think how you present the product and the options and the choices that you give people mean that you're targeting towards a younger or older demographic, but we really try to be for everyone. So like I say, that 8 hours of Michael Bublé listening, no problem at all. We've got that, we're ready to roll.